Keanu Reeves walked into the grand lobby of the Monarch Hotel, his usual unassuming demeanor making him blend in with the crowd of tourists and business people. He had arrived without his entourage, dressed in a plain black jacket and jeans, his long hair tied back. To anyone else, he looked like an ordinary traveler, not one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. The manager, Richard, stood behind the front desk, meticulously inspecting the evening's reservations. He prided himself on maintaining a high-class establishment catering to a particular kind of clientele, wealthy, prestigious, and impeccably dressed. When Keanu approached the desk, Richard barely looked up. "Good evening," Keanu said politely. "I'd like to check in. I made a reservation under the name K.C. Reeves." Richard glanced at the computer screen and found the booking, his brow furrowing slightly. The room was indeed reserved, but something about Keanu's appearance, his casual clothes, lack of luggage, and quiet demeanor, didn't sit right with him. "Are you sure this is your reservation?" Richard asked, his tone dripping with skepticism. "Yes," Keanu replied, his voice calm but firm. Richard scanned him from head to toe, then leaned in conspiratorially. "I'm afraid we have certain standards here at the Monarch. We cater to a specific clientele, and I must ensure our guests feel comfortable." Keanu's eyes narrowed slightly, but he kept his composure. "I wasn't aware there was a dress code for checking in." Richard gave a thin, dismissive smile. "It's not just about appearance, sir. It's about the atmosphere we strive to maintain. I'm afraid I'll have to cancel your reservation. You're welcome to try one of the hotels down the street." Keanu stared at him for a moment, his expression unreadable. He reached for his wallet and placed his ID on the counter. "Perhaps this will clear up any misunderstanding." Richard glanced at the ID, and his face paled for a split second before he quickly regained his composure. He didn't need to read the name. He recognized it instantly. Still, his pride wouldn't allow him to back down. "I'm sorry," Richard said, sliding the ID back. "But the decision is final. We hope you understand." Keanu picked up his ID, his lips pressing into a thin line. Without another word, he turned and walked toward the exit. The crowd in the lobby, unaware of the exchange, continued to bustle around him. As the glass doors closed behind him, Richard let out a breath, convinced he had upheld the hotel's prestige. Little did he know, his actions were about to set off a chain of events that would leave him, and the entire hotel staff, reeling. Keanu stepped out into the cool evening air, his expression calm, though a storm brewed beneath his composed exterior. He didn't need the Monarch Hotel. There were countless other places he could stay, but something about the interaction didn't sit right with him. It wasn't about personal insult. It was about the arrogance, the casual dismissal, and the lack of basic decency. As he walked down the street, he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Jimmy, it's me. I need you to do something for me," Keanu said, his voice steady but resolute. Meanwhile, back in the hotel, Richard returned to his duties, feeling a sense of self-satisfaction. The lobby buzzed with activity, and he barely noticed when a young woman at the concierge desk glanced nervously in his direction. Her name was Maria, and she had overheard the entire exchange. "Mr. Hudson," Maria ventured hesitantly. Richard turned to her with an air of impatience. "Yes? That man you just turned away? I think he might have been—" "An opportunist," Richard interrupted. "No need to concern yourself, Maria. We have standards to uphold." Maria opened her mouth to respond, but stopped when the main doors swung open. A black car pulled up outside, and a tall, sharply dressed man stepped out, followed by two others who looked equally important. They entered the lobby with an air of authority, their eyes scanning the room before landing on Richard. "Mr. Hudson?" the leader asked. Richard straightened his tie and approached them. "Yes, that's me. How can I assist you?" The man extended a hand. "I'm David Anders, Regional Director for Monarch Hotels." Richard's face lit up with a professional smile. "Mr. Anders, what a pleasant surprise. To what do we owe the honor?" David's expression remained neutral. "I was informed of an incident involving one of our guests, or rather, a guest you refused to check in." Richard's smile faltered. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. I acted in the best interest of the hotel's reputation. David raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Because the man you dismissed happens to be Keanu Reeves. The color drained from Richard's face as a murmur rippled through the lobby. Maria, still at the concierge desk, exchanged wide-eyed looks with another staff member. I didn't realize, Richard stammered. David's expression hardened. That's the problem, Mr. Hudson. You didn't take a moment to treat him, or anyone, with basic respect. Mr. Reeves isn't just a guest. He's a philanthropist, a respected figure, and, as of next month, one of the keynote speakers for our charity gala, a gala hosted by this hotel. The room fell silent as Richard struggled to find words. I can fix this. I'll reach out to him personally and apologize. David shook his head. It's too late for that. Mr. Reeves has already arranged alternative accommodations, and I'm here to ensure this situation doesn't repeat itself. Effective immediately, you're relieved of your duties. Richard's mouth opened in shock, but no words came out. David turned to Maria. You overheard the interaction, didn't you? Maria nodded hesitantly. Good, David said. We'll need a detailed account. Please step into my office. As Maria followed David, she couldn't help but feel a flicker of satisfaction. Justice, it seemed, was being served. Outside, Keanu watched from a distance, his phone in hand. Jimmy's voice came through the receiver. Want me to follow up? Keanu smiled faintly. No need. The message has been delivered. The news of Richard's dismissal spread quickly among the hotel staff, creating a whirlwind of gossip and uneasy excitement. Maria returned to her desk after speaking with David, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to process what had just happened. She'd never expected to play a role in such a dramatic turn of events, especially involving someone like Keanu Reeves. Meanwhile, Keanu's quiet departure hadn't gone unnoticed. A few bystanders outside the hotel had recognized him as he walked away, and within hours, a post began circulating online. Keanu Reeves turned away by Monarch Hotel. Here's what happened. The story gained traction almost instantly. Comments poured in, some condemning the hotel's treatment of him, others praising Keanu's dignified response. The Monarch's reputation took a hit as media outlets picked up the story, painting Richard's behavior as emblematic of elitism and poor customer service. Inside his alternative accommodations, a modest but comfortable boutique hotel, Keanu sat by the window, scrolling through the posts on his phone. He wasn't one for drawing attention to himself, but he couldn't deny the ripple effect this incident was creating. His thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. When he opened it, Maria stood there, visibly nervous but determined. I'm sorry to bother you, Mr. Reeves, she began, clutching a small envelope. I needed to thank you for standing up to him. Richard's behavior has been a problem for a long time, and you've done more in one evening than we could have hoped for. Keanu smiled warmly, gesturing for her to come in. Maria, right? You don't need to thank me. It was just the right thing to do. Maria hesitated before stepping inside, still holding the envelope. I thought you should know. After everything, the staff is trying to make changes. David Anders has promised to implement better training and accountability. People like Richard won't be able to treat others that way anymore. Keanu nodded, his gaze thoughtful. That's good to hear, but it shouldn't take someone like me to bring about those changes. Everyone deserves respect, no matter who they are. Maria handed him the envelope. This is just a small gesture from the staff. A few of us pooled together to write you a letter, something to say thank you. Keanu took the envelope with genuine appreciation. You didn't have to do that, but it means a lot. Maria smiled, her nervousness easing. You've inspired all of us, Mr. Reeves, and I think you've reminded a lot of people that kindness and humility still matter. As Maria left, Keanu sat down and opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note signed by several staff members, expressing their gratitude for his patience, his humility, and his quiet yet powerful stance against unfairness. Keanu leaned back in his chair, a faint smile playing on his lips. It wasn't about the headlines or the attention. It was about the change, the little moments where standing up for what's right made a difference. He picked up his phone and texted Jimmy, "Let's donate to a local charity in their name. Something that helps hospitality workers." Jimmy's reply came almost instantly. "On it." Keanu looked out at the city lights, his mind already moving to the next step, knowing that even the smallest actions could spark something bigger.